found yourself in a place of indecision and you're not quite sure which way to go, but you're really in a hurry to get there? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Welcome to Going Gentle. I'm Dawn Herring, and here we share everyday strategies to decrease our stress and increase our peace. Then there's nothing more frustrating than being in a place of indecision. Our everyday kind of decisions, we often run into resistance when it comes to figuring out which way to go, right? Well, I'm going to suggest to you several different strategies that help me when it comes to decision making. So the first one that I'm going to share is the pro and con method. You can write down the pros of each side of the decision that you're in the midst of making, and you can also write the cons of each side. And when you write it all down, it might be just the key to give you the clarity that you needed for which way to go on that decision. Another way that you can be more decisive is by keeping track of the decisions that you make and the result of those decisions. And when we write them down in detail and then we follow it up and say, well, this is what happened because of the decision I made that day, are you happy or not so much with the result of that decision? Well, if you're not happy with the decision that you made, this is not the time to beat yourself up. No. This is the time to get strategic and to actually look back on the dynamic that you found yourself in and what kind of led you in the direction that didn't work out so well. This can help to determine what that dynamic was and how you can avoid it in the future. And it can also show you where the decisions that you made went well and what dynamic you were in concerning that direction that you took and why it worked. So using your bullet journal, if you keep one, can often help as you record them in your entry, and you can look back and say, oh, well, that really went well. I wonder what worked for me there. Yes, that can really be helpful. And then the third way that I would recommend is checking in with your body. Because when we step back and really listen to what our heart is telling us, and we feel the frequency of either openness or constriction, that can often give us a clue as to which way to go. Now, not every decision is going to work based on the way the body is feeling. Sometimes we have to do things that we're not so comfortable with, depending on the context in our life. But it's good to have several different ways to approach that decision-making process so that we don't end up getting stuck in indecision, because that can be such a place of frustration for anyone, right? And that's what we're trying to avoid. So between the pro and con, the keeping track of the decisions when you write them down and determine which way you went and why, as well as checking in to what your body is telling you and listening to that heart space, you're bound to find a path of alignment that makes you feel like, hey, I'm really pleased with the way that decision went, and I'm going to learn strategically where that one went wrong so that I don't end up in that same place in the future. That's right. And as you keep track of the decisions that you make and you see the successes in general, as well as the ones that didn't go so well, it can really to help build your confidence toward future decision making, because at least you have an idea of what went wrong and what went right. Exactly. So I want to wish you the very best in all of the decisions that you make today and going forward. And remember that gentle is magic.